The music and the performance and the fashion are one. I don't separate my art from my life. It is one whole thing.
Hi, Patrick.
Hi, Tom.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Patrick, and this is Chewing on Pearls, the show where we dissect and decipher Lady Gaga's chameleonic career and its impact one pearl at a time.
So we're back, and, to our listeners, we're sorry we've been on a mini hiatus. We will be resuming the Born This Way music video series soon. One of the reasons that we had to take a little hiatus is because we threw our 15 years of Born This Way party here in Chicago at Color Club, which was like an unequivocal hit. It was incredible.
It may have been the best night of my life.
Yeah, it was really energetic and spiritually healing. We got so many messages from those that attended. Thank you if you did attend, by the way, and you're listening to this.
Yes, many little pearls were present.
Yes.
From near and far.
And so many messages came in just saying that it was such a pure and celebratory night. And I think, honestly, there was a moment where I was like, the roof is going to blow off of this place. During like Shaisa hair, like these classic deep cuts.
It was low-key banging. Like, it got like crazy. Like there were 100 people in that room.
And it kind of, so a few different people said to me, like, I didn't realize how well I remembered and knew every single lyric from this album, including the special edition tracks. Like people who are like, I'm coming to support you guys. I love Gaga. I don't know every track. But then they're like, something came out of me where every like car ride to high school where I had this album on repeat.
Totally.
The words were just like coming out of my mouth. And there was
fully locked in.
I just speak in future tense, if you
100%. Shout out to DJ Wilo and Track Queen. Fucking tore it. And then, of course, shout out to Born This Way, special edition. And our diva Allie on the install, there was a beautiful stained glass chewing on pearls window with a unicorn.
Yeah. Check out our Instagram. We're going to be posting more content from the party throughout the summer. And again, we just have so much gratitude for everyone who came out and supported us. And more than that, just like was down to get into the music, get into the vibes, and just like be present. Like everyone seems so present. Nobody was on their phones.
No.
It was just really good. Really, really good.
We danced from the second the doors opened until the lights came on and we all went home.
Absolutely.
Like, hardcore, nonstop.
Yeah. So that makes, taking a little break from the show absolutely worth it. And we'll be busy this summer, but we're going to chip away at episodes when we can. So let's get into it, because this is a much requested episode. On May 14th, 2026, Lady Gaga and Apple Music released MAYHEM Requiem, a live music experience taped at the Wiltern in Los Angeles earlier this year on January 14th. They've been very intentional about not calling it a live concert, which I think is interesting. They call it like a live experience. Throughout the special, Gaga plays the entirety of Mayhem in sequential order, reworking each song to showcase the industrial, dark wave, and electronic influences on the record. The new arrangements were all produced by Gaga, with additional production credits given to Johnny Natural, Tim Stewart, Rocket Parsons, and Chris Pooley across the entire track list. The taping was produced and directed by Morning View, with Gaga and Michael Polanski listed as executive producers. I believe Morning View also produced the Harlequin One Night Only show.
Totally. Notably absent from Mayhem Requiem is any allusion to her critically acclaimed arena tour, The Mayhem Ball, save for the set, which resembles a crumbled opera house. Gaga is flanked only by her fellow musicians. No dancers, narrative set pieces, or props join her on stage. She spends the majority of the show facing away from the crowd and focusing on the instruments before her. The gravity of her performance supported by dark, heavy fashions that include face coverings, veils, and even a helmet.
Variety wrote, quote, The whole evening was a testament to the creative power of Gaga. For her, it starts but doesn't always end with the music, which is where she thrives as a showwoman. But Mayhem Requiem brings the lofty ambitions back to the creative nucleus and centers the focus on the malleability of her songwriting. For Gaga, that sort of approach is par for the course, but it once again reinforced how gratifying it can be when you're along for the ride.
Gaga appeared at the special's premiere at the Grove in Los Angeles wearing archival 1997 Givenchy by Alexander McQueen, accompanied by an assemblage of dancers and a funeral procession leading a marching band through the crowd. Inside the premiere, she spoke briefly, noting that Requiem is proof that you can constantly reinvent yourself.
Mayhem Requiem has been widely celebrated by fans and critics alike as a testament to Gaga's prowess as a musical chameleon, producer, and songwriter. Critics call out Killa and Die With a Smile as the universal highlights of the project, with additional props given to Disease, Abracadabra, How Bad Do You Want Me, and Shadow of a Man. Let's get into this show.
Yeah. So, I mean, talk about captivating. From the imagery to the styling to the reworkings of each individual song, like her capacity for reinvention is boundless, as we know, but this really was kind of gobsmacking.
Mm-hmm. It felt almost like, I don't know if it was because it was this limited release in theaters, which we didn't really mention. There were like 15 theaters. It's only on Apple Music. If you weren't an Apple Music member, you could only watch it this one night. Of course, it's all over the internet if you want to stream it somewhere. Allegedly.
Right.
Allegedly.
We get a cease and desist from Morning View Productions. Yeah.
Yeah. Like she noticed us.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there was this, whether it was those circumstantial things or the performance itself, and I'm trying to speak to the performance itself, the stakes felt really high.
Yes.
In the performance. And I think what was so captivating, in addition to the visuals and the new arrangements, was Gaga's attitude on stage and her sort of in her producer mode, and really not like, there were like one or two moments where she gives kind of like fan attention, but she's like really in the zone as a musician, which is not like her typical approach to being on a stage.
Right. Well, and it is notable that like a lot of the instruments, like the synths and the keyboards that she plays throughout the show, are set facing away from the audience. So, and she wears, we're not going to break down the fashion because the looks are some of my favorite things she's ever worn, I will say.
Yeah.
But, you know, you can go to La Maison. We've all seen the looks. They're absolutely fucking incredible. But the facial covering, the like turning her back away from the crowd, like it really was about the sound and less the spectacle.
Totally.
Even though it is always
totally
kind of
there were
bit about the spectacle.
Yes. It's almost like the lack of spectacle in some ways is the spectacle.
Right. It's like, don't look at me, but if you do, just know that I look fierce.
Right. And I want to correct myself because I think I said like we're not used to seeing Gaga hone in on her like musicianship in a live, like when she's on stage. Of course we're used to that. Just like the Variety article wrote, though, we're used to it coming attached to all of these other things. And I think that's why,
right,
in some ways, this performance, again, it does like hearken to Harlequin One Night Only. In some ways, like her SNL performance to me, where it does sort of like strip some of the SNL performance of Killa, some of the classic Gaga-isms away, but keeps some of them intact, which kind of like creates this constraint wherein she is sort of like brimming with energy because it needs to be channeled in a more narrow, like funneled way.
Yeah. And I do think there's something. So in the special, there are some like behind the scenes clips of Gaga. Oh my God, her in her little jeans with her massive shoes. So fucking cute. It's like, oh, her little like track jacket and jeans and baseball cap, wearing her like
Right.
own Mayhem merch. Like, yeah. But, you know, and we hear Michael talk, which is like so cute and funny. It's like, oh, he has a voice. Yeah, that's right. But they're having this conversation, and it's almost Michael that brings up the idea that it's like, this is set in like a distant world where like everyone who experienced mayhem and like the peak of being a little monster is like dead and gone. And like hundreds of years later, people are rediscovering this. And it's like, oh yeah, this is some weird distant future where it's like we're moving apart, like parsing through the rubble to find the ancient texts. And the ancient texts are abracadabra.
Right. And it felt so it's funny seeing them have that conversation, and I think they're talking about like, we have a couple of days till the show. Like, I got the impression from some of the behind the scenes footage throughout the special that like this came together pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the arrangements probably took time to figure out, but I think seeing them sort of with days to go and he's bringing that concept up, I think was such proof that, I don't know, like he's prescribing this kind of narrative onto the Requiem show, but it was already there. He was just giving it language, and you almost see Gaga kind of click in like, right, that is what we're doing. And he's like giving it this kind of like synopsis. But like that is clearly what was happening, whether she knew it or not. Like, we're thinking the future, we're thinking the past. And again, Gaga is retro future.
Yeah, totally. And it was interesting to see them actually like work together in tandem in that way, because I know that we've talked about this a lot on the show where Gaga, it gives Michael a lot of credit, and then Michael in certain interviews and press stuff, you know, when he's been quoted, it seems like he always tries to like downplay what his involvement is, but then seeing like the actual behind the scenes, it like that is a perfect example of like him saying this one thing that just like clicked something for Gaga, and she's like, oh, of course. But it's like he, like you said, he's just giving language to what he's seeing her do.
Right. And I think that's kind of like the, for lack of a better term, yin and yang, give and take of like that kind of creative partnership, where when you're in the thick of it, it's hard to like step back and understand what it is that we're really trying to do here. And so to have that partner be like, I've been to every Mayhem Ball show. We were going to bed together after you had nights in the studio making this record. This is what we're doing now, is we're like creating this fantasy world where someone has like reassembled what Mayhem was, and this is kind of like the version that they've discovered. All that is to say, I think Gaga's artistry has really shown through in Requiem, in something like Harlequin, One Night Only, in this way where we're seeing her have it all, where she can do the like high concept kind of visual, you know, treatment and all of that stuff, and the narrative and all of that. But then she also gets to just be this person who loves music and loves performing live in these small theaters. And I think that like probably helps her strike this balance with like recognizing what she needs as an artist. Like, I need to be in those arenas, but I also need to be in this small theater, like playing synths. And like she's doing both and producing both. And I think that his partnership has helped her do that. Obviously, she's the star, but
well, and interesting that you say that about the small theaters, because I think when we did Harlequin Live, we talked about how like it's so rare now to be able to experience Gaga like that. But then thinking about the Mayhem era, it's like, is it? It almost seems like it's something that she's like doubling down on, where it's like, yes, I will do the the biggest show ever recorded in history, like in Copacabana, but then I'll also parallel do these like smaller one-off projects. Like it seems like that
Right.
kind of intimate performance is important to her. And rumors are swirling, they constantly are, especially now that Mayhem is officially wrapped. Notable too that the website now has like a gravestone for Mayhem, RIP Mayhem, like officially declaring the end of an era, which I think is like a first for Gaga to like be so finite, like this thing is done. Rumors are swirling that, she's going back to Vegas and it's going to be a jazz residency, but then there's also rumors that it's going to be a different pop show. So it's like, yeah, the Park Theater is also small. So like we're going back to like the chance to see Gaga perform again live in like the immediate future will probably be in a smaller room, and the demand is going to be fucking nuts post Mayhem.
Totally, totally. And then all of the speculation about the break that she has been so openly talking about to start a family,
Right.
but also when you're like one of the most famous people in the world, when you're a huge artist, her concept of a break might be different from what our concept of a break is too, where it's like she could be like producing things behind the scenes, while she's starting her family, and she could be still working on things and making the occasional public appearance. Personally, I don't think that she will be very publicly visible for a minute, but you never know when you are at the top of your game like that.
Yeah, and it almost seems like she is making moves career-wise to set her up to be okay to go away for a bit. It's like we had so much Gaga this year. Not that anyone's complaining. Well, I mean, since like 2024, really.
Mm-hmm.
She's been in the second Imperial phase. And, she was like getting some flack for Devil Wears Prada, yada, yada. We talked about that. But then it's like Mayhem Requiem happens. And it's like, no, bitch, don't get it twisted. Like, I'm still that girl. This is like why people are celebrating me for this fucking incredible album that some people didn't think I had left in me. And this is kind of putting a bow on that in a way where it's like, yeah, take the break. Like, I hope she does go away. We joke and say all the time that like she's gonna have a baby, but she'll emerge when the baby is like 2. Like no one's gonna know, and she's just gonna be like, "Oh, this is my toddler child. I've been married."
I mean, she wouldn't be the first person who,
right,
like of that like stature who does something like that, and she has the funds to be as private as she wants to be. So it'll be interesting to see, because it seems like she's been in such a generative space, and like has collaborated a lot in the last year or two as well. So I just like wonder, in a world where Little Monsters, the kind of imprint label exists, what kind of little side projects where we don't hear or see Gaga, but she's behind the scenes could be. And I think that's something that I kind of daydream about with Gaga, is her taking the approach to being a 40 plus, not to make it about age, as I'm responding to the culture that makes it about age, especially when it's women, but like kind of taking a different path. And yeah, maybe scaling back and doing small shows and taking a back seat on some like music production projects or like stage productions. She talked about doing something on Broadway, but not appearing in it at all.
Right.
And I think she said that on Colbert, maybe. Right. But
or the Little Monsters press conference, which I do think is funny that has been like floating around the internet lately in full. And I know that was something that like copyright wise they like took down, but it's like it's kind of out there now, which feels almost strategic in a way where it's like, oh, let's remind like the fan base of all the things that she said at the beginning of this era about like the future beyond the album.
Yeah, I kind of read it as, I mean, either it was over a year old and so now Spotify doesn't care, or Spotify is like, hey, remember when she did this for us? But she's doing this other thing for
Music.
Apple.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually insane that Gaga, like, within a year has done huge collaborations with like opposing platforms like that. It's
so
just insane.
Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Netflix, like they're all in competition and they all got a little piece of the Gaga pie.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
she's like, we'll take the best deal.
Right. I saw an interesting kind of post that was floating around, which granted it was accompanied by a fucking terrible AI graphic, but it was like a post that was talking about Cher with Believe, Madonna with Hung Up, and Gaga with Abracadabra, where it's like when they were discounted and like down and out, and it's like, oh, you're pop stardom, queen of pop, like you running the radio, like that's done for you when they were discounted, and that they were all, later in their career. With Cher and Madonna, obviously older than Gaga, like 39 is not a late career artist. But for someone like Gaga, who, was writing for the Pussycat Dolls when she was fucking 20, debuting at 21, 22, like, yeah, it's 20 years into her career, but saying that it's like she is in that lineage now, which of course we know that, but like now the general public understands that like she is cemented. Like she got the number one hit after the general public thought she was done, and now it's like,
see, this is where I would challenge that, because in some ways I think that Gaga has been more cemented as like a general public superstar in recent years, and it's been like stan culture, the gay community, little monsters who have sort of like positioned all of the things she's done in the last 6 years as like a question mark for her longevity. Whereas I think the general public has been like, actually, this is all contributing. Like Shallow is contributing. Right. Whereas there are
I guess,
people like not unlike us online who are saying Shallow has taken that away from her.
Totally. I guess maybe what I am trying to say when I'm saying the general public is I mean the youth, because it's like Believe introduced Cher to a younger generation, like Hung Up. Like we were watching Hung Up on TRL, like
totally.
It's like a 5, 6, 7-year-old now knows every single fucking word to Abracadabra, but they were not born when Gaga was on the radio. You know what I mean? Like it's that next
absolutely
generation.
Tracks.
Yeah.
Yes, that absolutely tracks, because you're right that like even though I knew Cher music and Madonna music in my household growing up, for Believe and Hung Up to come out while I was cognizant and be released and be new, those songs have a different meaning for me. So I can only imagine like a 12-year-old who like, or younger, a 6-year-old,
a 6-year-old,
yeah,
right. They're like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, totally. Yeah,
it's crazy to think that there were fans at the Mayhem Ball who were these little kids who fell in love with Gaga because they saw the Abracadabra video.
Right.
Right. It's like, I love that. It's insane.
I know.
Should we get a little bit into Requiem though? Was there a song
let's bring it back to.
Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like, what are if there were 3, if there could only be 3?
Well, I really loved Killa. In this rendition.
My 3 are Killa, Love Drug, and Die with a Smile. So
I love that I say one and you're like, okay, and so
I'm like, these are my 3.
Yeah. For me, I think I really loved Perfect Celebrity. I think
on the piano,
that has always been one of my favorite songs from Mayhem, and I think gets skipped over a lot in discourse because there are these poppier moments, but I think her like guts are in that song in a different way, and like
it was gonna be the title.
Yeah, hearing that like tone from her, this like a little bit of anger, and I love the bridge, and hearing her do the bridge in that way, it was very special to me to see Perfect Celebrity. Yeah.
I think it's notable that, that's a song that everyone thought was going to get the really like grunge electro clash treatment. And she's like, well, yes, but also I'm going to be at the piano, the core of what makes me a musician, like what I like learned first,
Yeah. So powerful to me. Like that like moved me in a different way. Like to me, watching that song made me realize like this is the end of an era.
Yeah.
and perfect celebrity and like what that means and how as this kind of like secret alternate title to Mayhem, it like is perfect. I guess I really enjoyed, and I know that it's kind of basic, but the abracadabra like drop in this like album, like it's so different and it feels club in a different way that like made me feel like it made me feel sort of like this is something that I would hear out at some like cunty DJ set, and for that reason I loved it. And I also did love Die With a Smile.
Well, that's what's so crazy, and we'll get into the Die With a Smile of it all, but what's so crazy about Abracadabra is like how many versions of this song are out there now, and they keep getting progressively cuntier. Like, we thought the Grammys was gonna be the end all be all, and then fucking Mayhem Requiem Abracadabra comes out and is like, me too, I'm also the best thing you've ever heard.
It makes you think, like, because we knew that she had taped this at the Wiltern. We've talked about it in a That's Gossip episode, I'm pretty sure. And then when the Grammys happened, I think we both were sort of like, oh, this is a look at what is coming with Requiem. But it's cool to know that possibly they made 2 arrangements at that time for Abracadabra, and the one that she chose, one for the Grammys and one for, Requiem.
Or she's working on these things around the same time, and it's like, well, what if we did this? Like, how deep can we go? And I do think that like there's like some text that accompanies kind of like the rollout of Mayhem Requiem, with Gaga talking about that, being like, this is like a love letter to the sounds that we were exploring when we were making this album. So it makes me think that they're like going back into maybe some of the stuff that didn't make the cut for like the studio recording, but like some of the ideas that they were playing with, and like really excavating and seeing how far they can take the same idea until it becomes something completely different, even though it's the same song.
Totally. And, just to touch on one moment in the kind of behind the scenes that I loved, 2 moments. One was, and I feel like this is like obligatory, documentary footage of any diva. There's always a moment where, whether it's Beyonce, Gaga, whoever, is like having a moment where they're being the boss, and it's important to see, I think. And she says something like, right now the show is good, but we need the show to be great. And the way that she says it is so like, there's sort of I feel like a little bit of a brief silence that falls in the room, a brief discomfort. Like she's not 100% pleased with this yet. Right. Fuck, we have to get our shit together. And I loved that moment.
Well, and she was like, when you're up there playing with me is when we are like, it's basically her being like, no, we are a band. You are not my band. Like, you have to let me be part of the ensemble. And that's what makes Mayhem Requiem so special, is that like, obviously she is the mega superstar, but it's like in this arena, like she is the front woman of this band that she is like touring the world with, and she's like, you gotta play with me. Don't play for me, play with me.
Yeah,
and that's
it's a
where it like
thing.
Yeah.
There are two other, I have 3. So that was the first moment. The second is like, and we've seen this, I think, in other kind of like Homecoming, Beyonce, seeing Gaga watch a monitor where there is a stand-in on stage who is her wearing her outfit, and she is watching the live feed from the camera to understand what she needs to be doing, how it looks, how it's going to look in the taping, which I think really speaks to the kind of top-down level of artistry that's happening, where it's not just about serving the fans that are in the room, but the awareness that there's a camera and the awareness this is going to be released and this is how it's going to be immortalized. And I'm watching this person who's probably exactly my height, wearing my clothes.
I think it was China at one point. I think it was China.
I think it was China.
There. Yeah.
And I think we saw this. There was another piece of Mayhem content where we saw this? Was it like a Coachella something? I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
No, yeah, like this has always been a part of her process. It's like, whether it's what's going to be seen on the monitors for the fans in the arena or what's going to be seen in this taped special that's on, YouTube, Netflix, Apple Music. I think that I don't know. I'm just so impressed by that always. And then the last moment is just the nervousness and anxiety that she has when she's about to go on stage, which we've seen before, but I would argue as a long time fan, I have not seen her that nervous in some kind of BTS footage in a while. She seemed
like pacing. Yeah.
And maybe that's how it always is for her. I mean, she always says that she gets nervous every time, but seeing her hold this PA's hands, like saying a prayer, just like one PA. There's not like a full team of dancers praying together. But that kind of jitteriness shook me. Shook me.
Yeah.
I was like, this feels high stakes. And
well, you could tell that she, like, regardless of it being like an Apple Music live whatever thing, like, you could tell that this was a really important performance for her, regardless of like what the final product ended up being. Like, her in that room, the stakes were high. You could feel it.
Yeah, and there's a moment too where Michael says, and this will be the last installment of Mayhem. And I feel like I pick up on Gaga having like a realization.
Yeah.
When he says it. Like, she's almost like, wait, what?
Yeah, she's like, wait, I might not always play these songs. Like,
yeah.
They might not all make future set lists. Like,
or like she's so present that she's thinking like, what do you mean I have like Mayhem Ball tour dates coming up? But she's like, oh, wait, this is going to release after that. And like, that will be the end.
Right.
And like, it's clicking for her that like, for the fans, this is going to be it for some of these songs. Like, are we going to hear The Beast on tour again? Like, I hope, but.
Well, honestly. Well, so that kind of is a perfect segue to, she's like doing this while she's still touring Mayhem Ball. And it's funny in retrospect hearing some of like the melodies that she would sing and like ad libs, and then seeing that it's like, oh, you did that for Requiem, and then you're like, ooh, I like that. And that's why I love Drug I Loved, because I'm like, oh, now it all makes sense. Like these kind of like different melodies, different harmonies. It's like, you really tore on that Love Drug, and then you were like, I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that for tour. We're gonna take that on the road.
Right. There's like a playfulness and experimentation that happens live during the Mayhem Ball and any Gaga show, but knowing that like it contributed to this, this thing that feels a little bit more like cemented because it's like taped in this way.
Right. And it's like, we were like seeing it in real time, like on the Mayhem Ball post, like, because they recorded this in January, and then it's like, what was that rendition that she's doing? Like, oh, that's interesting. And it's like, oh, that's why.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the credits of it all. So when this came out, Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails was credited on Killa.
Yes.
I don't know if it's a sample or an interpolation.
It samples Closer. And that's why she's like, I'm gonna fuck you like an animal.
Right.
And then and then it goes into, Yeah. That's why Killa is so fucking good with the synths.
Yes.
All the little beeps and boops and the little like
she's also feeling it in a different way for that song. Right. And so let's get into the Die With a Smile of It All. I think firstly, coming away from the release of this, that was the rendition, the song. Again, it's just a testament to how good that song is, that like people were walking away and being like, this is incredible. Like people who are not Gaga fans being like, she's brilliant. How did she do like the version at the Super Bowl? And she does this version on her tour, and she did this version.
Literally weddings, funerals.
Like crazy, right? Like
Super Bowl wedding, Mayhem Requiem funeral.
Yeah, and it was such a takeaway for fans and non-fans alike watching the show. And like publications were reporting like there's a sample or an interpolation of Night Call by Kavinsky on this, like without reading into the liner notes. It was being reported on that it was like a sample or interpolation, and fans kind of picked up really quickly that like, oh no, they're reporting on this and it's not in the liner notes.
Right. And I do think too that it's like, I think it was Paper's review of the Mayhem Requiem where they were like, oh, like whoever wrote and I'm being a bad journalist by not knowing the byline, but they basically were like, this song, I never really bought Die With a Smile. Like I never really was into it when it first came out, wasn't really into the Super Bowl, yada, 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 my like least favorite song. And they were like, the first second that Gaga starts playing the like chopped and screwed Bruno vocal, it was like, oh, wait, this is something different. And she is like, watching her fuck with like Bruno's vocal and like play the synth pads and like the MPC, like she was so in it. And then when her voice starts with the vocoder, like that's where it's like, whoa, okay, this is something new. And this is something that like I know a lot of fans are hoping is like a teaser of like where she's headed. Because it is so, and the time signature is different. Like she took the song and completely reworked it. And now it's like when I sing it in my head, I sing die, die, die with the smile. You know, like it's like it's
perfect. And I think that there's, you know, again, like the Variety article we've been talking about, sort of like somewhat of a lack of spectacle, but in that lack of spectacle, there is spectacle. I think the like Selva pieces that she's wearing to perform Die With a Smile are an important part of it as well, because though we are, you know, we've seen every image of Gaga ever taken and we've seen her in crazy, you know, headgear. Go listen to our previous episode on headgear. I think for people that are scrolling on TikTok, on Instagram, whatever, seeing Gaga in this helmet, in this one-armed car part thing that we know harkens back to her, you know, red carpet at the release of the Chromatica Ball tour at the very beginning of the Mayhem era. Like that paired with that sound, I think blew a lot of people's minds. Like seeing her that way after this era where she has been, I think the Alexander McQueen birdcage headpiece did that for the general public as well. Like, oh, like we've seen her so like fresh faced and, you know, blonde or black hair and the bleached eyebrows, and that's Gaga, the Gaga face that is her imperial face. But seeing her in this helmet with this ponytail down her back, focused in almost like an athlete.
Yes.
It's a bizarre kind of like, I don't know. Bizarre is not the word, but it's really like impactful just knowing all of the ways that we've seen and heard Gaga throughout this era, starting with when Die With a Smile dropped.
And it's also in a way, it's in a way like a nod to like Daft Punk and like Devo and like that whole world too, where it's like, let me put on my helmet and hit some synths. Like
it's almost like she has always loved like French producers, like Daft Punk, like Justice, and thinking like I'm almost like, oh, this is a girl who wishes that when she started making music, she put on a helmet or a mask from Jump. You know, there's a part of her that is like, like thinking about these early interviews where she's talking about, I want to control my image and I want to be ugly and not be sexy all the time.
Well, and then
I don't know.
And that's probably why she has such a fondness and kinship for Gesaffelstein too. And like why they work so well together. Because she gets it.
Yeah. Totally.
Sorry, listeners, that Babu is freaking out. For context, there are people that are working in my backyard right now, and he is like stranger danger.
He just loves Die With a Smile.
Yes, no, he's like, mention the Kavinsky shade. We're getting to it.
Yeah. So I guess what Kavinsky posted in response to Die With a Smile was, quote, "Don't be mad. I love Lady Gaga, but she could have told us at least. That's all, folks. No anger." So the song Night Call is produced and written by Kavinsky, as well as one half of Daft Punk, the guy named Guy Manuel. And I think that he was originally credited in the liner notes, but Kavinsky was not. And I think, I'm pretty sure that that's kind of like how it played out.
So I think the thing that was kind of annoying, I think, was that Kavinsky was like posting a lot of like kind of like shady things before that, where he would just like post like an eye roll emoji or like comment on other people reposting Die with a Smile, but like not an official post of it. So like he was definitely out there and moving in a way that like it probably got back to Gaga's team and they were like, okay, we need to do something about this because we've clearly upset him. And I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem very Gaga to like not credit, but then it also kind of reminds me of like the Carl Bean of it all too with Born This Way, where it's like that wasn't front and center until later on. So I don't know. I don't think it's like intentional, but it also like it wasn't it wasn't front and center.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, to go back to the Carl Bean thing, because I think in our Born This Way music video episode, I mentioned that. And I actually, in doing research for the Born This Way party, was going into such like deep dive interviews, like, and did find one from 2011 where she mentions Carl Bean, but it's literally just one on like a Canadian radio station.
Right.
But that being said, that's not like that's like inspiration in a different way. This is sort of like interpolation.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, I don't know. Like, I think that she is not the type of person to not give credit where credit is due. I think it's possible that people who created the liner notes on Apple Music, again, that's the only platform this is on, like skipped over it somehow. I don't think there was any drama. Like, there are some little monsters who are like, this is people trying to, like, Apple Music trying to make Gaga look bad. This is just like they're trying to set up headlines so that and I just like don't think it's that deep. And I do know that like people were upset with Kavinsky kind of like saying something about it.
Right. And I mean, it is notable that Gaga posted about it and tagged Kavinsky. And like I mean, I'm not going to read the post now. It's like, it's not her like saying my bad, but it's like her being like, this music and this world is like, I'm so interested in it and inspired by it. And like, I feel like it's part of like me making Mayhem and like what I'm really into and where I'm headed. And like, I don't know. It's her way of like acknowledging it, almost like the post where, you know, when everyone was like after the Nurtec ad of it all, you know, it's like it's not an apology, but it's like here's some context as to why this thing that was like misconstrued happened, without her explicitly like saying like Kavinsky called me out on the internet publicly, being like, you didn't credit me for using my song.
Right, like that. She's like beyond that at this point in her like career, for sure. I mean, let me pull this up though, because I want to see if she mentions. Yeah, she does say like, I wanted to flip Die with a Smile harnessing Night Call with the French electronic energy. So I was wondering, like, I didn't remember if maybe she just kind of like tagged him and didn't mention Night Call. Like,
no, I mean it like is Night Call. Like, and that's why, like you said earlier, when fans who were there were like, "Oh my God, Die with a Smile samples Night Call."
Yeah,
which is a pretty,
because it's like so clear.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit. It's like a very different situation, but it does remind me of, you know, Beyonce Renaissance energy and the milkshake sample. Khalees not getting credited, but Khalees was the performer on the song, not the writer or producer. But she was like, I just wish that Beyonce reached out so that she could know, like, just like reach out for my like thumbs up. And I think that that's kind of what Kavinsky's saying here is like, it would have been cool to just maybe like, his comment to me alludes to no one from her team was like, hey, we're doing this.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
And I think maybe that's tricky, or maybe they ran it by the guy that's one half of Daft Punk and he was like, great.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. I know. That's what's so tricky about it, because it is so recognizable and identifiable, it's like, how could they not have gotten it cleared, you know?
Right. Or like it went through his lawyer and not him, or like, I don't know. It's just,
yeah.
It kind of became a non-event really quickly, but I know that fans were really scrambling to be like, I guess this is kind of what I'm getting at with when I was kind of mentioning how I sometimes feel like it's the fans or like pop music fans who sort of like create the stakes that Gaga is responding to, as much as she's responding to Kavinsky. And I almost felt like, wow, fans are really like in this like terminally online world. They're so afraid that Gaga's going to get like quote unquote canceled or quote unquote called out or quote unquote bad press for this thing that is like, it doesn't have to be that deep. And I just remember when it was happening on Gaga Daily, it was like such a cluster of people being like, oh my God, like this is like a PR nightmare. And I'm like, you guys are making it a PR nightmare.
Yeah, right. It's
you
like,
know?
shut up. Yeah, right.
It's just funny how that like Little Monsters kind of accelerate this narrative. Other fans have this belief that she is constantly on the brink of losing what she's built.
Well, you know why?
And I
It's
think
because
that's deeply...
We're traumatized. Like,
Yeah.
we're a traumatized population that's just like waiting for the shoe to drop.
I guess it's just... And it's also like culturally, it's like hard to believe that she can have had such a like from, you know, cheek to cheek onward, essentially. I know that Joanne wasn't a big hit with like critics or fans, but like regardless, coming from like what happened with Art Pop and her management, it's all just been up and up from there.
But the thing, it's so funny with Joanne. It's like, it also was a means to an end in a way where it's like, when I think Joanne, I'm like, the Super Bowl and A Star Is Born, you know? Like,
yeah.
So
Shallow is the most rewarded song in history. Like,
yeah, like what? I know. It is kind of crazy now that Mayhem is officially her third most streamed album. So it's like The Fame Monster, A Star Is Born, and then Mayhem.
Yeah, I buy it. Although the Born This Way numbers are ticking up.
Yeah. Thanks to us and our 15 years of Born This Way series.
Yes. And people discovering, you know, these songs or whatever. But I don't know. I'm not trying to be a hater. I think as I've grown, I've kind of like let go of that. Like, she would really have to like say or do or be something that she's not.
Right.
For like everything that she has built and worked so hard for not to like matter anymore.
Right. And it's like every time there's a story about Gaga where someone's like talking about their interaction, like meeting her, whether it be like another person in the entertainment industry or just like some random person that's like, she came into my restaurant. It's like the one takeaway is like, wow, she's such a down to earth, level headed, kind, understanding person. And it's like, okay, if everyone is saying that, like, they're not being paid off, you know? Like,
yeah.
That actually just has to be the truth.
As we know and have talked about at length, like, Gaga has pulled back from being so, like, accessible to her fans via Twitter, doing so many interviews all the time where she's speaking off the cuff. It's a lot more focused when she goes into an interview setting. And I think for that reason, they doubt that the 24-year-old Gaga, the 23-year-old Gaga sitting in those interviews being so fucking real and so New York and all of that doesn't still live inside her.
Right.
She's not that person anymore because she's grown. She's 40 years old.
Right.
But like those versions of herself have all like accumulated to this place. And I think...
Well, perfect example in the behind the scenes where she was like, well, that would be cunt. When they're like, she's like working with the bands and they're like, it's like, no, she is there. Like, that girl is there. She's like, yeah, that could be cunt. And like to all these like just like straight musician bros that are just like playing, like, so funny.
Like, I don't know. It's funny. I guess it's sort of an unprecedented, her like run, her career as an artist is, to me, and I'm biased because I love this woman, like, she's my friend, unprecedented.
Yeah, right.
She's also like a true musician and is
Right.
doing shit like Requiem
Well,
and Harlequin.
I do
Yeah.
think it's interesting now that Mayhem has rapped and like a couple of her musicians and stuff, like her drummer Tosh is like, he was on that like podcast or whatever and like talking about like he was so scared to meet her, and like the drummer that he had replaced had been playing with her for a really long time, Spanky, I think. And he was like, I don't know. And then like SNL was one of like the first gigs that he did with her, and it was like, oh, she wants to play the drums with you. And he was like, what? And it's like, yeah, no, that's like, that's what you've signed up for now.
Sometimes,
like,
sometimes
it's like from that moment on, he was like, oh, okay. And then he talked about, like, shared a sweet story about like Copacabana and how he like couldn't stop crying and like called his parents, and like Gaga felt the gravity. I mean, obviously she was feeling that too, but like she felt the gravity of like this person who's like the biggest crowd I played for before was like 20,000 people, and now I'm in front of like 2.5 million people, and like you made this happen for me, and you're like taking me around the world and playing the drums with me. Like,
the least I could do is let you like grab a drumstick and shake your wig around, girl.
Right?
Go,
yeah.
You know, like that's the least I could do. Be crazy.
Well, and he talked about it too. She was like, okay, so teach me the part, and like got up there and was like, I'm gonna learn what you're playing, and then I'll do it, and we'll do it together.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, she can like, and I mean, I know I said my three were like kill a love drug and die with a smile, but also. I am a Blade of Grass girl, so like finally getting the Blade of Grass performance, thank God. But Garden of Eden, she was fucking tearing that shit up with the guitars, like just seeing her up there, like and the Beast,
it's a really good show, and I was captivated front to back.
I mean, even Disease. Like
Disease.
I mean, come on.
Disease is my daughter. I'm like,
I know.
I will protect her at all costs.
I'm like, she didn't give you writing credits on that one, but she should.
I'm like, late last year when people were like, actually, let me rethink this. I'm like, where have you
been?
I'm like, it took 1 year for y'all to think Disease was brilliant. What are we doing? I know. But it was nice to see Disease and Perfect Celebrity performed in a different way that wasn't the Sandbox.
Right. Yeah,
like,
totally. Yeah.
Blade of Grass and Don't Call Tonight performed at all, you know?
At all, yeah.
So I think it's a really, I mean, this kind of became a That's Gossip, kind of a touch base on our recent, you know, our thoughts on Gaga as of late. But I think the special speaks for itself, and we
exactly.
It's
like you don't need to hear us tell you that every single performance is absolutely incredible. You can go just watch it, like, and it is so good. Like,
it's just entertaining. Just to touch on it briefly, like potentially for our show, you know, for what we talk about, like our show started right when Die With a Smile was dropping.
Right.
And so it does feel like a full circle moment for our show as well. Like Mayhem will always be linked, I think, to Chewing on Pearls.
Right.
It was our Mayhem listening party TikToks that she reposted. And like,
right.
You know, I don't know. It just feels so a part of it. And I'm excited also just for the listeners, for us, like to see what we can like scrounge up from the past to talk about, because there's so much that we have not talked about. So I'm excited about that. And also like all of the speculation that just comes with being a little monster when she's less active. It's like the rumor mill already, the LG8 rumors, they're out.
Oh my
there.
God. People have like threads on Twitter being like, here's everything we know about LG8. And it's like, Gaga's like, what? Like, huh?
She's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is like an interesting, you know, turning of the page for our show, for Gaga's career, and that feels really exciting.
And I do think it's funny that it's like there's like two school of monsters out there, where it's like there's like the everything we know about LG8, and then there are the people that are like, so Total Mayhem is dropping. It's 26 tracks. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
we gotta move on.
yeah.
We gotta move on. They're like, Frankenstein is coming. Yeah.
That there are fans like us who are like, so let's talk about the writing process of Brown Eyes.
Right.
Know?
Yes.
Like, let's revisit.
Yeah.
We're still hung up on that.
Right.
But anyway, if you got to the end of this episode, thank you for listening, and go watch Requiem.
Yes, totally.
And remember, a pearl a day keeps the copyright infringement lawyers at bay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go stream Night Call by Kavinsky. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, bye.
Bye.